Welcome to All Things Retreat podcast. I'm Holly Porter, your host and CEO of Retreat R&R. With over 25 years of experience in designing transformative retreats, I'm here to share insights and inspiration to help you create extraordinary experiences. Whether you're a pro or just starting out, you'll find valuable ideas here. Enjoy the ride. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show today. We've got a guest that is going to be a little bit different than our past guests, and I'm really excited to have a chat with her. It's outside the box. I love outside the box things, and I think that if you're a retreat leader, aspiring retreat leader, you'll really want to lean in and listen in to what Lisa has to say today. So we've got Lisa Monca, and she helps anxious, super smart professionals who feel dumb after pain and tragedy to reconnect their bodies so that they can release their pain and feel good again. Together, we explore how to feel emotions without wanting to run away or find distractions. And by using movement, they can access thoughts and feelings that otherwise might stay hidden. By connecting to our bodies, we can truly feel emotion and let them go, along with all of the tension, pain, stress that we carry. And if you're a woman, you got it probably more than the men. No offense, men. As a licensed professional, Lisa, clinical counselor and board certified dance therapist, she uses dance therapy and dynamic attachment repatterning, which are both kinds of somatic therapy, to help her clients heal. So welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you so much. So just my last name's Lisa Monca. I just wanted to clarify.
Did I say it wrong?
We're good. Yeah, I think you said Monca.
Oh.
So I want to make sure so that if people look for me, they're like, how do I spell that? So it's M-A-N-C-A.
Oh, thank you.
It's always
thank you.
Yeah, it's always a tricky one.
We want our names.
So I'm a dance therapist, which is really something not a lot of people have heard of, which I think makes it a little bit more interesting. So people say dance therapists, and they're like, are you going to teach me to dance? Do I have to know how to dance? I'm like, no, none of the above. But it combines psychology and dance, which are two of my favorite things, in order to help people heal.
And music's so healing itself. So I can imagine adding dance to that. I've done some, I don't even remember what it's called. Ecstatic? Does that sound right? Ecstatic dancing?
Oh yeah, ecstatic dance. Yeah, that's definitely along those lines. So, the way I kind of found dance therapy is kind of interesting. I was in school and I was like, well, there's music therapy, there's art therapy, there has to be dance therapy out there. So I typed it into Google and I found the American Dance Therapy Association, and then I found a master's program, and I applied to a couple, and I was pleasantly surprised. I got into these schools, and then that kind of started my whole journey with
it. And how long's that been?
Gosh, next year it'll be like 20 years that I've been doing dance therapy.
So I love that. Well, what I liked about the Ecstatic was she actually gave us, it was a CD. It's been a few years, and you would listen to it and do it on your own time. And she'd do like 4 different things to it. But at the end, you would like lay on the floor and do like a meditation. But she sang, and it was so beautiful. Like her voice was just sounded so angelic. And that was my first experience with anything like that. And it was very healing. But I know you say it's helpful for people with trauma. Talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. So a lot of the research now is showing that trauma stores in the body. And if you've ever had something happen to you and feel the need to shake it off, that's definitely one of those ideas, right? But a lot of times we can store memories of traumas or things that can happen, especially if people have something like PTSD, and a certain sound or a certain touch will bring that memory flooding back. So that's what I mean by working with trauma. So a lot of that, because it stores in the body, you can talk about it and never get to the point where you're releasing it, right? So it's like, I keep talking about my trauma. I'm almost re-traumatizing myself. But something like dance therapy has ways of like looking at, so part of my training is like looking at the body and what your body's doing and what that says about your mental health. So movement analysis, and then doing movement interventions and finding new ways for you to move or release things that you have stored there.
I love that. Well, okay. So since no one else is here but me and you, I'll just ask this.
as far as trauma, so I had a 70-day hospital stay with COVID and was intubated twice and had a trach and sepsis and all kinds of things. So talk about trauma. My body was under a ton of trauma. A lot of times I was in a coma while I was there, which was good because I lost all my senses while I was in there. And so it caused a lot of trauma. And I remember not really having traumatic experience like that before. People saying, "Oh yeah, you've got," I had anxiety from it. I got depression from it after um, the PTSD, and you never really. I mean, there's survivor's guilt because so many of us, everyone suffered from COVID, the whole world at the same time, and everybody has a story probably of somebody that didn't make it, and so there was all those things. So I'm curious, like, because mine's been about 3.5 years now, but I do notice triggers, especially when recently I've had a little bit of a rebound. And it kind of goes in waves of my long COVID that I got. And so, like, I noticed I have to wear a CPAP now because of it. And I noticed that I'm struggling to breathe, and that trauma comes up, that panic feeling of, and I'll just have to like close my eyes and breathe deep. And it's hard to wear a CPAP when you are claustrophobic because I have to think. I also wear an eye mask for light sensory, and then I listen to binaural beats at night with speakers. So like I look really cute at night, let me tell you. But I've just figured out, those are life-saving mechanisms that help me cope with it. But when you're claustrophobic and you have all that on, it does bring that up. So I'm just kind of curious for my benefit, but listeners, hopefully you'll learn something from this as well. Like, how would you handle something like that with what you do? I'm very interested.
Yeah, I think, well, the first thing, it sounds like you're having a lot of feelings that you've never probably experienced before.
Right.
Right? Like
I was helping.
And yeah. So then, and then all of a sudden to have anxiety and depression and other things on top of it can make it so hard. Right. So what I would probably start with, in every dance therapy session, we kind of get people in touch with their body. So we start with a movement warm up. Like you said, music is really helpful, especially when people get there for the first time. I think that they are expecting me to, I don't know. It's just, it can be awkward. Like they're expecting me to like stare at them the whole time, which I'm not. Like I also move with the person, but I think we would start by doing like a movement warm up and having you notice any images, sensations, thoughts that are in your body as you're moving different body parts. And then from there, whatever information I get and whatever I see, both verbally, both what you're telling me, and then what I see is what I go off of. Does that make sense? So then from there, we are able to have a baseline of, okay, I'm seeing this. It seems like you have a lot of tension. Maybe it would be tension in the throat. I don't know. We're not doing a session right now. And then we would go with that. And it's like, well, what's it like to move this part? Or if you identify something, let's go with that memory. What's that about? And explore and movement, and also just processing verbally after we move. So a lot of times people think that we would just move the whole time and we wouldn't say anything. Well, that kind of takes out the processing, the therapeutic part. Like, because you can go to dance class and move the whole time, but the piece that makes it dance therapy is, one, the psychology training that the therapist has, and also the processing of, hey, let's make meaning out of that movement. So did that answer your question?
Yeah. I had never thought, because believe me, I wanted to get better. There's a lot of people that they just stay in that sick space because it gets them attention or it makes them feel good to get sympathy or, whatever it is. And I'm not like that. I'm like, no, let's get better. I want to be better. So yeah, anything that's different, I love looking at. And I can see bringing the retreat industry and the retreat leaders that are listening to this, how you think about what Lisa has said and how you could use this and how important it could be to have a professional come in as a guest speaker, guest workshop producer, whatever you want to call her, but have her come to your retreat and do something like this. Let's talk about what that would look like, because I know you're looking to get more into that retreat space because you can help so many more people in a group setting. Talk about like what that workshop would look like if a retreat leader was to bring you in, would you?
Yeah. Yeah, so I've done some workshops with schools, mostly like community college level and high school, which has been wonderful. And sometimes they'll give me like a theme or something that the people are working on,
Yeah.
and it could be stress or it could be relationships or it could be anything like that. So I would probably, we'd have our movement warm up. We've had music to help people get into their bodies. We talk about like, what does that make you feel, or can you do a movement for how you're feeling? That's like a classic intro. Like right now, if you were to be like, okay, can I do a movement for how I'm feeling? And I think maybe I would just like shake my shoulders, and I would have participants do that. And then we could have each person kind of contribute a movement for how they're feeling. And then you get a sense of how people are feeling without them even saying that much, right? So there's ways to get people to connect with their body. Other ones can be like relational, like what does it feel like to move with other people? So depending on the themes that these schools would give me, I would work off those themes and come up with ideas or exercises for them to do that were dance therapy related.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not actual dance therapy. It's using dance therapy techniques, because we can't do dance therapy and expect confidentiality and all these things at a workshop. And just like if it were to be in a work setting or at a school, you wouldn't necessarily want to go to therapy with your peers or your coworkers.
Right.
So it's using these dance therapy techniques, and people can definitely come in and with an idea of like, hey, my workshop's on healing dating anxiety, or hey, my workshop's on connecting to other people or confidence. And then I could come up with ideas based on what those retreat leaders would do.
I wonder too, if they were to bring you in and you're there and you're part of that retreat, if you could do individual sessions with them, maybe it's a 30 or an hour.
I'm definitely open
for smaller retreat. I mean, you're talking 6 to 12 people there, probably is all you could probably handle and something like that. But I could see that being a really, really cool part. And I also visualize maybe this is part of like a fire ceremony of the release. I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it's just something that would be a little bit different for the attendees to come to, something different that they haven't done before.
Absolutely. I don't know a ton about fire ceremonies, but I think movement in general, like the great thing about dance therapy is people have come together for millennia around a fire, I would imagine, and danced or moved or, and we see, I think in the West, a lot of times, like in Western culture, it's like you have to go and you go to training for dance and you take classes, when other cultures and countries have like cultures of dance, And I think getting back to just what does it feel like to move and not what does it look like or is it performance ready really can be so healing and offers so much, especially in a retreat space.
Yeah, I love it. What are the attachment styles and how does it impact relationships? Let's talk about that.
So one of the great things that I also work with is attachment, which is kind of how we form our primary relationships. So say, I don't know how much you know about relationships in terms of the anxious attachment or secure attachment or all of these. Have you heard?
I've heard of them, but I do not know a lot about them.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I get to tell you everything. The ideal, right? So our attachment styles are based off our primary caregiver and how they attended to us when we were growing up. And how they attended to us gave us an idea of what the world was like, right? So if every time I cried, my mom, or at least 30% of the time, doesn't have to be every time, I want to be very clear on that. So say 30% of the time my caregiver was consistent and came and attended to my needs, I develop a sense of trust in the world and in other people, right? And relationships aren't big and scary. But say my primary caregiver, for whatever reason, is not able to attend to me when I cry or when I had needs, I'm going to be insecurely attached. And that could look like anxious attachment, where my caregiver was there part of the time and then another part of the time wasn't able to attend to me. So I was kind of left wondering and always kind of like, are they going to be there? Are they not? So they have anxiety around relationships. Those people develop like they're almost fixated on the other person quite a bit because they haven't had an experience of a secure provider, right? So they tend to view relationships as anxiety provoking. Somebody who's also insecurely attached but avoidant might have been completely left on their own, right? So not to the point of neglect, but just to the point of everything was you solve it by yourself.
Okay.
So these people might they might look great, like they're great at task-oriented things. They're really independent workers, but they're not able to connect with others, or it feels like people are a little bit intruding on their space when they connect, right? So you have these different ways that people attach. There's also one other that's called disorganized attachment, and that can be from growing up in a very chaotic environment where, you never knew what was going to happen, and it feels like your brain is just disorganized. And in relationship, sometimes they will go towards, and sometimes they will come away because they don't know what to do.
Okay.
So these attachment styles are really a great idea. Like within a retreat, you can play a lot with how can we help you heal and get more secure. And I think it would be a really great retreat idea to do something around how to identify your attachment style and what you can do to heal it. And I think that is one of the niches that I work with is dating anxiety, right? Those anxious attachment folks are like, why am I so anxious when I date? I'm great in every other spot in my life. And that is like one of the things that I really love working with.
That's really interesting. You explained that very well. I'm curious, do you think that affects the personality styles as well in people?
That's a good...
I just do a lot with that. So I'm kind of thinking that as you were saying.
Yeah, I would say so. I think attachment, like we're born to connect to each other, right? So if you think about the brain, like a baby's brain doesn't grow unless there's something to bounce off of, unless there's a caregiver, unless there's someone babbling words at them, right? So we're born to connect with each other. And I think, it can affect how we view the world, how we view, is the world safe? Are other people safe? All these things. And I think that does contribute to how our personalities are, for sure.
I always thought your personality was going to stay the same. That's like your core. That's just how you are. And I've learned, especially since I got ill, I learned that my personality even changed. Somebody challenged me to go take, the DISC profile. And it was interesting because I did switch. It was weird. I was like, it's really like, I'm a lot more introverted than I ever was. I was always an extrovert. And now I think COVID did that to a lot of us. It just made us go within and be afraid to be around people. I feel like I go to the grocery store, I get my thing, I go out, I drive, I don't look around, to see who else is driving on the road because I live in a smaller town. It's like, I just go do my thing. And it's just interesting how different situations change us. And I think what you were just talking about fits in with that a lot. One more question for you. I have, how can you repattern your attachment style? So we talked about those. Let's talk about repatterning.
Yeah. So I actually am trained in this really great, it's called dynamic attachment repatterning, and it's a therapeutic process. And the lady who made it, her name is Diane Poole Heller, and she's a really wonderful woman. And the idea is the therapist helps be that really secure person, and they use like specific language, and there's specific like approaches that the therapist uses that can really help you start to get more secure. So the anxious person comes more towards secure, the avoidant person comes more towards secure, and a lot of that sometimes it's learning to feel safe in our own bodies, and like, okay, I can meet some of my own needs. I don't need somebody else to meet all of my needs. For the avoidant, like I can allow someone to meet some of my needs. So I think a lot of that is finding a therapist that's really pretty well schooled in attachment, and that's going to be your best bet.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I could see, thinking out as retreat leaders are listening in, how they could use you after as well. Like not only just coming in as a workshop or doing those little private sessions, maybe with them while they're there. I'm thinking of a more transformational retreat. It seems like a lot of people that I've met recently that are retreat leaders are in that space. They not just plant medicine, they just want to see the transformational stuff without plant medicine as well. But I could see that being something maybe you could follow up with as part of your service after, where they can have a call with you and work with you. Can you do everything you do online as well?
Yes. Yes, for the most part, I can do everything online. So dance therapy is a little bit trickier because I like to see the whole person, right? So I'm trying to analyze movement and get people to move. And also, the one thing I haven't been able to bridge and with technology is getting the music good enough so that there's not a lapse. Because like we can get it so that verbally I can hear you and it's in real time. But then the music piece is always a little bit trickier. So for the most part, though, I can do more of a coaching online if someone is not in California. And then if someone is in California, I can do like the actual dance therapy in the state. So.
Is it better to use music with no words, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters. So it's interesting. When I was first learning to do dance therapy, I like to tell this story. I had a bunch of clients that needed to be more grounded. And depending on the music, you can get people grounded or you can get them just some other place. And I put on like some Herbie Hancock, and it was like more of a experimental jazz, and it was like improvisational. And I just watched my group who had, some people that were had psychosis. They just were not in the same room with me anymore. And I just watched the whole group, like they were there in the room, but like it was just like because I didn't have something grounding with rhythm to help people like stay in the moment. It was just like, whoosh, they were gone. And I was like, okay, I'm not playing that again. That didn't work.
How'd you get that?
And then I would
is what I wondered. How did you get that?
What'd you say? Oh gosh, I think I switched the music and then was like, all right, everyone, put your feet on the floor. Like, let's really work on this. But yeah, as an intern, I think that's the good time to learn how music affects clients. Oh, yeah. But then it would be funny, like, I don't know. I think the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I don't know if you know that album, but it's a great album. It's probably from the 2000s, I would say. 2005, 2006. And it has a really strong beat. Every single song has like a strong beat. So you go from song to song and it helps like gather, and everyone can be more cohesive and find the beat because it's really strong. And that kind of helps get a sense of community. So it's interesting. I don't know if words or no words matters. Sometimes if it's someone that gets distracted by the music, because sometimes the music can overtake the movement, and sometimes the music can facilitate the movement. So sometimes silence is good, especially if I'm having people really go internal.
Yeah.
Silence is good. Sometimes I choose things that people don't have associations with, right? So if you know the song that I put on, right? How many of us have listened to a song and been brought back instantly to a memory, right? So sometimes I'll put something in a different language just so that they don't have as much of an association with that particular music. So that's kind of how I've played with it.
Done when at night, like I said, I listen to stuff all night long because my ears ring so bad. I'd rather hear something else and my ears ringing, and I'll listen to different things at different times for a while, and then I'll get sick of that. And I found one that was, it was binaural beats, but it was a weird sound, but I thought, well, let me see how I did. And I slept so much better. It was like more theta stuff. And so I did that for a few nights, and then I got sick of it. It's like funny how my brain was like, okay, learn whatever you needed to learn out of that. The thing that does make me a little nervous, my friend brought up to me, was music that has these hidden messages behind it. And do you know what I'm talking about? They'll have like affirmations and you can't hear them. They're like behind tracks.
Yeah.
And she would always get worried. She's like, I want to know, like this one gal was transparent and she put a list of what it was saying behind that she couldn't hear, but it was like programming you. And she goes, I want to know what it's programming me. And so I thought that was interesting because I hadn't really thought about it, knowing ahead of time what you're listening to, especially if you're sleeping with it, because it's probably just on a 10-minute repeat track or whatever. But I thought that was interesting that she pointed that out. I don't think it's stuff like that, but I probably should.
Well, I think of everything that we consume, or even in like the Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and you don't think that much about that video that you consumed or this other one that you scrolled past, but we're just consuming so much now, So I think that even beyond hidden messages, even the stuff that's blatantly in front of our face, we're taking.
There's so much hypnosis. We could really go down a rabbit hole with that with me. Well, gosh, Lisa, our time's up, and I'm so excited that we got to dig into this a little. I learned a lot. I hope our listeners did too. And we'll have all of Lisa's information down in the show notes so you can grab it there, and her social media links and everything will be there so you can connect with her. And if you have a retreat leader, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you if they want to talk to you?
Yeah, I think email is best. And my email is lisa@lisamonca.com, but it'll be in the show notes like I said.
Yeah. So reach out to her and get some more good stuff. But I think it would be great to have you as a guest at these retreats. I noticed somebody said the other day, there was a comment on they're not filling their retreats as easily as they used to. I'm doing everything the same. And I thought you just answered your own question. That is why you're doing everything the same. You've got to start thinking differently. You've got to start thinking things change, just life changes with people.
And I think we're just in a different time. You can't keep doing the same thing, and maybe people need different things. Right. But I think the idea of connecting and finding healing spaces is never going to be a style.
We're in a $180 billion industry in 2022, and it will be $364 billion estimation. That's 101.6% growth in 10 years. It's not going anywhere.
Insane. Yeah, exactly. So I think and I'm of the opinion that movement and dance are always healing. So I don't think they're going anywhere.
I love it. So I think it's a great niche. Well, okay, everyone, this is the end of our show, but reach out to Lisa if you want to know more, and join us next week. We launch a new podcast every week on Wednesdays. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of All Things Retreat. We hope you're leaving with new ideas, fresh inspiration, and the motivation to take your retreats to the next level. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It helps us grow and reach more retreat leaders like you. And if you have any questions, topics you'd like us to cover, or just want to say hello, send us an email at info@weretreatrnr.com. Follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all the latest updates. Until next time, remember, great retreats start with great intentions. Let's make them extraordinary, one step at a time.